Why do customers find insurance complicated? And what is insurance if you go to the basic of it? Let's try to understand that. Obviously, from our perspective, it's easy, but I think we make it complex. Essentially, insurance is very similar fundamentals to any organization from my perspective. There is sales, which is the revenue of the company. There is cost, which is the outlay of the company. Cost has two parts to it. There is the claims, which we pay, which is when a customer claims when an unforeseen event happens, which is why we are here, and the cost to run the operations, to pay our distributors, etc., our employees, so on and so forth. Investments, which is obviously the income we make from the revenue, from the premiums we collect or the revenue we collect. We don't just keep it, we obviously invest some portions of it. And obviously there is a few other share of results, which is there could be organizations where we may not be in a controlling position, but we obviously get bottom line benefit from investing in them. We don't get the top line because you only consolidate top line when you control a business. um, let me try to break sales down. This is something I love. You will see a lot of companies, um, according to their will and wish, use terms like GWP, NWP, NEP. And many times I hear, investors, potential investors, come and tell me, are these three the same? Why do you say NWP is more important? Why does somebody else say GWP is more different to NWP, etc.? The truth is, actually, NEP is the amount that we actually keep in that year, but GWP gives you a sense of the strength of the sales of the organization, and NWP gives you a sense of how much can that organization actually hold. Let me try to explain that without sounding very complicated. Um, in simple terms, very, very simple English, right? Let's assume a customer today downloads my mobile app or goes to my website and they buy a motorcycle insurance, or they buy a travel insurance, or they buy a motor insurance, home insurance, motor insurance, whatever it is. And let's assume that they want to buy a simple product motorcycle for 100 ringgit. So they pay the company 100 ringgit to buy it. That 100 ringgit is my sales, is my gross sales or my gross written premium. However, I do not keep the entire 100 ringgit sometimes. What do I mean by that? Insurers also have reinsurers backing us, which means, in simple terms for a layman, it's an insurer to an insurer. Okay? Because we also have to cover ourselves. What if all the claims come together? Can we take a huge claim in a particular book? This kind of stuff we have to be aware of. So, what we do is risk transfer. We don't transfer everything. For example, in Tune Protect, for travel insurance, we keep 100% of our risk because we think we know the business very well. Our balance sheet can handle this risk, and we don't see a reason why we should transfer it to another reinsurer outside the group. However, when it comes to, say, SME, there are some products like SME engineering where we may actually only keep, say, 60%. Why do we keep 60%? Because we believe from a risk perspective, we shouldn't keep 100% from, based on the actuarial analysis, and we should pass on 40% of that risk. So when a claim happens, our claim is limited to a certain amount beyond which the reinsurer kicks in. Now, in simple terms, in this case, for example, we are assuming that 30 ringgit is transferred to a reinsurer. We are only keeping 70 ringgit. So actually, net written premium is essentially the premium that we actually keep with us as a company, for which we are accountable for claims. The remaining portion of that claim has been passed on to a reinsurer, even though we will still be the one paying the claim to the customer. That portion we will get it from a reinsurer if that event happens. Now, let me try to explain that into how that results in NEP. This slide sounds a bit complex, but let me try to give it to you in very simple terms. From my perspective, NEP is the premium that you keep in that year. Why is that? because there are certain portions of the premium which are not for this year. It could be for next year. As an example, if the motorcycle policy was bought in July on July 1st, actually the premium is only for 6 months, because the remaining 6 months is for next year. So I can't take credit for the entire 100 ringgit, even under earned premium. Neither, and if it is being reserved, which means 30% is already gone to a reinsurer and I'm keeping 70, then I can't pass on the whole amount for the year. I have to apportion half of it to next year. So what we do is, when we get the 70 ringgit, which is the actual premium we have, because the 30 ringgit is gone to the reinsurer, what we will do is, we will immediately reserve roughly. Yeah. Normally there's a formula for this, but in simple terms, let's say I reserve half of it. So I reserve half of it, which is basically for potential claims. I will take the remaining amount as my earned premium, and then I will keep earning the premium over the year, assuming it's a full year policy. If it's not a full year policy, I will not earn the full amount, which is why you will always see GWP is a big number, NWP is a smaller number, and NEP is a much smaller number, unless and until the company has consistent sales flowing through over several years, which means there's always a flow through from previous year, flow through to the next year, and so on and so forth. Um, this is very important that you understand the revenue side. I will repeat from my perspective. GWP shows you the strength of the sales of the company. NWP shows you the actual premium that an organization is going to be accountable for. So many times, I personally look at expenses over NWP, although other people do look at expenses over NEP, because expenses in that year versus the earned premium of that year. But the reason I look at written premium is, it gives me a sense of how much is this company spending to get the premium they are going to keep, whether it's this year or next year. But there's always two ways of looking at it. And NEP is the premium you keep in that year for that year's expenses.